Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, How do I know if guidance is from ego or from truth? Or if guidance comes from ego or truth? Well, that's a very easy answer. Let me first define a bit of what we're referring to as ego in these videos. Ego is a thought that believes that there's such a thing as a separate entity. In other words, the thought that says that I am a person, that is what is referred to as ego. You see? Because what you are, what we are, or what is, it simply is. When the thought of separation seems to appear, that is what is referred to as ego. So, ego is nothing more than a seeming limitation to totality. In other words, if you look at Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Jesus, Buddha, I don't have any pictures of Buddha as a person, but we got statues and things like that. That's why I use the statue. Or anyone who you would say it has transcended, or whatever the case may be, all of them, like you or like me, like everything, in essence, we simply are. However, the moment they take the shape of a body, you see a body of a Jesus, you see a body of a Nisargadatta Maharaj, you see a body of a Ramana Maharshi, and whoever you want to name, including ourselves. Not that we are comparing ourselves to anyone, I'm just saying that when you see a body, you're seeing a limitation, and that is ego. In other words, Jesus, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, they have the shape of ego because they do have a seeming body. However, the difference is that they have transcended the ego because they have transcended the mind, meaning they are no longer identified with the content of the mind. And because they don't believe the content of the mind, they don't believe their thoughts, they, although may appear within the world of illusion, of course, although may appear as bodies, meaning egos, they are not identified with the thought that says, I am a body. Okay? So, when the question arises, how do I know if the guidance or the message, whatever you want to call it, comes from ego or spirit? The fact that the question is there, it implies that there's a me, you see, that now can receive guidance from either one or the other, you see? But where these videos are pointing to is that there is no me. There is nothing or no one. Therefore, if all that there is what is, who would be receiving guidance and from who? Presence is. And presence does not receive guidance from anything or anyone because presence is all that there is. Unless presence believes that it's something separate from itself, and the moment it believes in that separation, now then begins with concepts such as I can receive guidance from A or B or whatever. Okay? So, we're pointing to the fact that we are. Now, going back to the question. When you ask a question, how do I know if guidance is being received by ego or spirit or whatever? That question itself, guess who is asking it? The ego is the one asking the question. Because the ego is the sense of identity that now claims to have a question that now wants to know which one is the one that I choose. Okay? Now, let's delve a little bit on this one because I'm going to share with you how I see life living through this instrument, and that's why I don't have any conflict or that question does not even arise. And by the way, a couple of days ago, I did a video which is called, I believe, about asking for guidance. I'll put the link here because it kind of goes along with this one, and I would suggest to watch that video. It's a great, great video. Anyhow, this is how I see it. In A Course in Miracles, there's a line that says, the ego always speaks first. I can take that same line and use a different choice of words, which meaning that reacting. You see, the ego speaks first implies reacting. So, the way I see it is that if peace is the only thing that I choose by not identify, remember, I'm not choosing anything, there's no me who chooses, but this is the limitation of language, and from the context we appear to be, these are the words that I have to use. There's no other way, at least that I know of. So, if I choose peace above all else, see, and I don't believe the content of the mind, then whatever that happens is what's supposed to happen. And yes, the mind can say that was guidance by truth or spirit. But again, what we're pointing here is that instead of letting the mind translate and suggest that it was guidance from A or B, it's just what happens. The only thing is that because peace is what is underneath, I trust that whatever decision is made is exactly what's supposed to be made, and is being made from that space, and that's it. I don't have to debate in that, because if I find myself making a decision, again, I'm not making the decision, but the decision is made through the instrument, and then I feel doubt about it because a thought comes in, oh, that was the wrong decision. Now the mind begins to punish itself. Man, I made the wrong decision. I should have made that decision. Oh my blah, blah, blah. See, all that suffering, which is mind stuff. And then let's say 3 months later, there's an epiphany. Oh my God, that was the best decision. But you see, we suffer for 3 months thinking that we make the wrong decision because the mind was interpreting according to feelings that they were coming up, sensations, and all of that is maintaining the mind distracted with this sense of identity. So that's why, to me, it's very simple. I don't get caught into whether this was ego or truth. I just see life happening, and if I choose peace above all else, I trust that whatever decision is made must be more in accordance to what the ego would suggest it was spirit or truth. You see what I'm pointing to? Because again, all of those are distractions that the mind uses to keep holding on to the concept of a separate identity, because only the separate identity is the one that believes that it can choose between two. But if there's no two, if all that there is what is, then life is. Who would be the one choosing between any or the other? There's not such thing as that choice. I'm going to give you an example from someone who is not in this, talk about non-duality or something, but however, she have made a choice, okay, which go more in accordance to what is being spoken here. She sold her house in Mexico many, many years ago, and the real estate agent found her a couple, and that couple was very in love with the house. They loved it, and he was so happy. It was wonderful, and they gave her the price that she wanted. You see? Everything is fine. Then the realtor called her up and says, hey, don't sell the house. I found someone who is willing to pay more. You see? That could be one of those dilemmas. Should I listen to spirit or ego or whatever? So what she did, she's very religious. She sat down in her heart and she said, God, I just want to be at peace. You see, she didn't get caught up into whether the decision was ego or truth. All she said is, I just want peace. And she felt that these people gave her the price that she wanted. They were happy with the house. And even if she could have made more money, to her, she felt more at peace by just letting the transaction happen and forget about the other people who were offering more money. Well, it could be said, oh, that was guided by spirit, or that was guided by truth, or instead of ego. I just simplify it. I don't know. All I know is that peace was chosen first, and the consequence of that choice was that she felt that the right thing to do is, or what she felt best for her, was to simply sell the house for the price that it was stipulated, and the couple was happy and everything was fine. You see? But she didn't have to get into the dilemma with his ego, with his truth, because again, the mind, it's always trying to come up with those concepts. You know why? Because it's trying to keep holding on to the sense of identity. And once again, these videos are not about what to do. There's no one doing anything because there's no one. It's always pointing to the fact that I am. So if peace is what's chosen all the time, well, then we trust that whatever decisions are made are exactly what are the ones that they're supposed to be made, in spite whether at the beginning the mind suggests that was the wrong decision. Because in reality, there's no such thing as right or wrong decisions. All that there is life unfolding. And if you believe you're this character, then you're going to be swept by and dragged by all the seeming life experiences. But if you rest in the recognition, the I am, that I am, life happens according to the plan, or I don't even like to call it plan, but according to what is, but you remain in center, you see, in the peace that passes all understanding. And then in that center, there's no dilemma whether the decision was made by ego or by truth. It's just what happens. See? Because once again, when we get caught up into whether the decision was made by one or the other one, that has to be the conceptual mind, the identification with the character, with the seeming I, the separate entity, that now claims that have to make a choice between one or the other. So to me, life is very simple. From the moment this instrument or this body, whatever you want to call it, wakes up in the morning, then life happens. Decisions are being made. You know, I think the Buddha used to say, actions are made, deeds are done, but there's no doer thereof. And that's it. It's very simple. Therefore, the question whether the decision is made by spirit or by truth, I mean by ego or by truth, to me doesn't exist. It makes no sense whatsoever. All I know is that peace is chosen above all else, because that is the most important thing in truth, in that sense. If that's what's the most important thing in my life, I trust that this character will play the role it has to play. The decisions that are made are exactly the decisions that had to be made. In spite of what feelings comes up, this feels good, this feels bad, or whatever, I don't know. All I know is that resting in what is, resting in the peace that I am, I trust. And once again, that question completely disappears, so I never get caught into whether who's choosing or not choosing, if it's spirit or ego or this is truth or whatever. It's very simple. Right now I could say, hey, this video was inspiration by what? By ego, by spirit? Let me give you an example and we just close this, this video. This video that I'm making right now about this topic is the second one I made. Okay? I made the first one, and after I was editing and reviewing it, something didn't feel right. I felt that I was a little bit too, I don't know, there's a sense that it didn't feel right to me. So what happened, I went ahead and erased it from the hard drive, and I am re-recording it again. If I go into the mind would say, oh, the first one was led by ego, and now truth led you to do this one. You see? That's the mind inventing stuff. I make it, to me it's much simpler. That video was made and then life didn't want it to be made, so it was erased, and now this video is made. You see, I don't let the mind at all opportunity to try to jump into the wagon, into this little, into the rails of the train. No, I just leave it, you know, leave it as it is. And this is what happens. You see? Who made or why was made the decision like that? I don't know. Maybe that happened so that I can give you that example. I don't know. You see, the mind loves to go crazy. There's a beautiful, well, I call it beautiful. I like that. It's a song from Ozzy Osbourne that used to call, I think was his first single. I'm going off the rails of a crazy train. Well, if you go into the mind, you're going to go into the rails of a crazy train. But if you don't identify with the content of the mind, if you simply rest in what is, then you will always be in track. It doesn't matter which way the track takes you, but you're always gonna be in track. And that track is peace. And that's ever present. It never changes. In spite of the feelings, in spite of the sensations, in spite of the thoughts, in spite of circumstances, that never changes. And we're gonna put it to the test. And now we close the video, okay? Right now, don't identify with any thoughts. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Don't identify with any thoughts. Don't believe in them. Let them be there. They will be there. That's what they do. Just don't believe in them. And remember, I'm not talking to you. This is a challenge, that you may think that I'm talking to you so you don't believe the thoughts. This is something that is coming through, that hopefully you see the obviousness, of course. So anyhow, not you seeing it, but again, we're going to keep running in circles if I keep trying to explain myself. I hope you're getting it, you know. So, right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, you see, what is left? Don't answer. If you answer, you miss the mark. That's the mind again. I'm pointing to the obviousness of what is. In this obviousness of what is, are there any decisions to be made? Are there any concerns? Is there a future? Is there a past? No, because all of these are thoughts. And if you don't identify with the content of the mind, what is left is what is. Well, remain as that. And well, that was the inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.